The wine glass shattered against the hardwood floor, its crimson contents pooling like blood under the chandelier's dim glow. Sarah's laughter froze mid-breath, her eyes darting to the faces around the dinner table. Friends, neighbors, their smiles stiffening into masks. Her husband, David, sat rigid, his knuckles white around his fork, the metal glinting as if it could slice through the silence. "It was just a joke," Sarah stammered, her voice thin, a thread unraveling. "Husband swapping, like a silly reality show." But the room felt wrong, the air heavy with something unspoken, as if her words had cracked open a truth no one was ready to face. The evening had started so innocently. Their cozy dining room, with its sage-green walls and flickering candles, hummed with warmth. The scent of roasted garlic and rosemary from the lamb lingered, mingling with the tang of Merlot. Sarah had spent hours preparing, wanting to impress their new neighbors, Claire and Tom, who'd moved in across the street. David, ever the charmer, had kept the conversation light. Work anecdotes, travel stories, the usual dance of suburban camaraderie. But as the second bottle of wine dwindled, Sarah's playful quip about swapping spouses for a weekend landed like a stone in a still pond. Claire's smile faltered, her eyes flicking to Tom, who coughed into his napkin. David's fork paused midair, his jaw tightening in a way Sarah hadn't seen since their last fight. She tried to laugh it off, her heart thudding against her ribs. "Come on, guys, it's not like I meant it." Her voice sounded hollow, even to herself. Claire's lips parted, but no words came. Tom stared at his plate, his fingers drumming a nervous rhythm. David pushed his chair back, the scrape against the floor like a scream in the quiet. "I need some air," he muttered, disappearing toward the back door. Sarah's stomach twisted. Something was wrong, more than a bad joke. The room felt like it was tilting, the walls closing in, the candlelight casting shadows that danced like secrets. In the kitchen, alone with the dirty dishes, Sarah replayed the moment. Had her words been too bold, too crude? She'd always prided herself on her wit, her ability to keep things lively. David loved that about her, didn't he? But his reaction, the way his eyes had darkened, not with anger but with something closer to fear, gnawed at her. She poured another glass of wine, the liquid trembling in her hand. The back door creaked open, and David stepped inside, his face pale under the porch light. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low, like he was afraid the walls were listening. They sat in the living room, the guests gone, the house too quiet. The couch felt cold beneath Sarah, the leather creaking as she shifted. David wouldn't meet her eyes, his gaze fixed on the coffee table, where a photo of their wedding day sat framed in silver. "What's going on?" she asked, her throat tight. "You've been weird all night." "It was just a stupid joke." He exhaled sharply, his hands clenching into fists. "It's not the joke, Sarah. It's everything." Her pulse quickened, a cold sweat prickling her skin. "What do you mean, everything?" He stood pacing, his shadow stretching across the rug. "I saw the way Tom looked at you. Like he knew something." Sarah frowned, confusion clouding her thoughts. "Knew what?" "David, you're not making sense." He stopped, turning to face her, his eyes raw with something she couldn't name. "I saw you two last week. At the coffee shop. You were laughing, touching his arm. You didn't see me, but I was there." His voice cracked, and Sarah's heart sank, a stone plummeting into a dark well. The memory hit her like a slap. She had run into Tom at the cafe, a chance meeting while grabbing her morning latte. They'd chatted about the neighborhood, the weather, nothing serious. Had she touched his arm? Maybe, in that absent way she did when she was animated, telling a story. But David's words twisted the moment into something sinister. "David, it was nothing," she said, her voice rising. "You're blowing this out of proportion." But his eyes held a quiet accusation, one that made her chest ache with doubt. Was he jealous, or was there something else, something he wasn't saying? Over the next few days, the house felt like a minefield. David was distant, his silences heavy with unspoken questions. Sarah caught herself watching him, analyzing every glance, every pause. The way he lingered on his phone at night, the screen's glow illuminating his face in the dark. The way he flinched when she touched him, as if her hands carried a current he couldn't bear. She tried to bridge the gap, cooking his favorite meals, suggesting a movie night, but her efforts felt like shouting into a void. The more she pushed, the more he retreated, until she wondered if she was the one betraying him by doubting his love. Then came the text. Late at night, her phone buzzed on the nightstand, the screen lighting up the bedroom. A message from Claire. We need to talk. It's about Tom and David. Sarah's breath caught, her fingers trembling as she typed a reply. What's going on? Claire's response was immediate. Not over text. Meet me tomorrow. The park, 10 a.m. Sarah lay awake, the words burning behind her eyes. David slept beside her, his breathing steady, but to her he felt like a stranger. The park was crisp with autumn, leaves crunching underfoot, the air sharp with the scent of damp earth. Claire sat on a bench, her scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, her face pale. I didn't want to believe it, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. But Tom's been different. Secretive. And I found something. She pulled out her phone, showing Sarah a photo, a receipt from a hotel, dated 2 months ago, a place neither of them had ever mentioned. Tom said he was at a work conference, Claire said, her eyes glistening. But I called his office. There was no conference. Sarah's mind reeled, pieces clicking into place like a puzzle she didn't want to solve. David's late nights, his excuses about client dinners. The way he'd started locking his phone, something he'd never done in 10 years of marriage. David was with him, Sarah whispered, the words tasting like ash. Claire nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I think they've been meeting. Together. The word hung between them, heavy, impossible. Sarah's knees buckled, and she sank onto the bench, the world blurring around her. Back home she confronted David, her voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. Tell me the truth, she demanded, holding up the receipt Claire had sent her. What were you doing with Tom? His face crumpled. Not with guilt but with a strange relief, as if a dam had broken. It's not what you think, he said, his voice hoarse. We weren't cheating. Not like that. He sank into a chair, his hands trembling. Tom's been helping me. I'm in trouble, Sarah. Debt. Bad investments. I didn't want you to know. The confession hit her like a wave, relief and betrayal crashing together. Not an affair, but a secret just as devastating. He'd hidden a part of himself, built a wall of lies to protect her, or to protect himself. Why didn't you tell me? She cried, tears streaming down her face. I'm your wife. David looked at her, his eyes hollow. I was ashamed. I thought I could fix it. But the truth was out, jagged and raw. And Sarah realized the crack in their marriage wasn't just the secret. It was the trust they'd lost long before the joke at the dinner table. As they sat in the wreckage of their life, Sarah's heart ached with a truth she couldn't ignore. The betrayal wasn't just David's. She'd ignored the signs, the late nights, the distance, choosing comfort over confrontation. And now, with the glass shattered and the truth laid bare, she wondered if they could ever rebuild what had been broken, or if the pieces were too sharp to hold.